I learned many things in the technology class, especially how technology can really benefit the EL students in the classroom, which is very valuable. So we did several different things. Something that I tried this year I've never tried before was Nearpod. It's a free online assessment tool in which up to 30 students are able to test at a time in one given test. Some of the pros that we found is that it automatically grades for you, which is a huge time saver. It also provides instant feedback on individuals to individual students and on individual students. And it's also pretty easy to use overall. Not so much was the fact that only 30 students were allowed in each session, which meant that we had to copy each assessment or assignment multiple times. So I have 3 classes and some of them have 30 or more kids, in which case we had to copy it a few different times. We also found that it can be finicky or glitchy um, when you have different aspects. Like, for example, you can have a poll, but it got kind of tricky and it wouldn't always go to the quiz. The code changes after, excuse me, 24 hours. So if a student's absent, you need to give them a new code. And also the data does not save after 24 hours. So if you do have a student, again, or if you have the data and you want to import it, you have to make sure that you write it down somewhere because it just kind of disappears. Student benefits, obviously they can use their one-to-one, which is always a big hit. Anytime they can use their Chromebooks, they're buying into it immediately. They also like that they didn't have to wait for me to actually sit down and grade each individual assessment. It pops right up on their screen, and so they knew their score as soon as I knew their score, and everybody was happy. For the kids, it was also really easy. All that they had to do was import the code, and it took them right to my test. They didn't have to click on many different things or buttons. They just got to enter the code and go right into the quiz. For the language learners, obviously language development, depending on how you're using it. I actually think that this tool could be a little tricky for EL students because it wasn't very easy to modify. This is my Nearpod account that I have, and I created several quizzes for all of my partners. She's the other EL teaching assistant. So we collaborate from one scope tool together. It is a lot simpler. So this is a preview of one of the quizzes that we made. We did this based off of Harry Potter comprehension tests, so they're a little bit more informal. So the first question that I wanted to know was who liked the book. Something that we noticed when it came to the school that was left on website um, at times it would be a little bit difficult that it would be able to get into the quiz set. And that was something that we didn't like. Um, so further than, once we got into the actual quiz part, we were able to give them multiple choice tests. And these, like I said, were more informal to pay attention. See that we did it based on some of the details in the book answers, and have multiple answers, choice. Something we didn't like is that there's so much differences, but for my students who did require differentiation, it was very easy for me to just pull them aside and read aloud to them. So we only did about 10 to 15 questions of comprehension check. Basic, basic things like a room, sense what's being named, what's being called, and then we would give them this question. So yeah, it's pretty easy. And my account, we used it this spring one, and when you go to your library, you can see all the leftover quizzes. It also shows you how it's going to start. So, for example, this Harry Potter chapter one, you can start with the poll and then you go into the quiz. There are multiple quizzes of the same thing because you have to copy them. They only allow 30 students to answer So over part 2, I used Storybird in the classroom. The students were assigned to create a Storybird, which is a brand new tool for me and a brand new tool for them. It's one that I did learn in class, and we decided to assign them my life at Hogwarts. So the stipulation was that we requested students to create a story that had a plot, and also that we wanted them to use one or to create a story that had different elements of Harry Potter the book in there. So they had to actually look at the illustration and make sure that the details were all aligning, and that was really tricky. So I have several EL students who were recently exited in that classroom, and that proved to be probably the most challenging piece for them. The experience overall was that it was an easy concept for them to navigate, colorful illustrations, and we liked the final product. The kids themselves gave me some really good responses. It was easy to use, but don't forget to save. In this Google age, they're not used to saving anymore. The pictures are pretty, but when you pick an artist, you get stuck with only their illustrations. It's cool to write a book and see how it would actually look, but they also thought that there should be a way to get pictures that don't match that illustrator or artist. So here's a sample from a student who was recently exited. So this is a storyboard that was created by one of my students from the EL program. Program for about a year. So he sent it some consult with his teacher, but for the most part he's in the general education class with me, and I just try to give him some strategies to assist. So this is the storyboard, and you can see that's little illustrations, some artists, and what struck me the most is the fact that students were very happy. So it created Hogwarts is a magical place. First year in Hogwarts, he goes to the entrance. So he's not following the exact directions how to create a story with plot and write paragraphs, and it kind of gets right into it. You can see that the student uses the exact words from the book. So this one in particular, the Hufflepuff, Autumn. Gryffindor is Raven here. Ravenclaw is intelligence and values knowledge. So instead of finding synonyms to these words, he's pretty much taking them right out of the book. That's okay. I know the student struggles tremendously with his vocabulary, finding those good adjectives, and really making sure that he's utilizing good descriptive words. So for him, this isn't a bad way to convey his ideas. However, they're not in those ridiculous boxes of words. And it kind of goes on that way. Something else I noticed about the student is that his pictures don't necessarily, illustrations don't lend themselves to the actual story. It's more with abstract pictures, the ones that you don't think with, because it doesn't have any technical detail with that. Especially this one, what's called just enough room space. The chases went around in this one goal, and yet the illustration doesn't necessarily have anything to do with what it's describing. So you kind of rather say taking the words right out of the book, being creative with his own ideas. Something I would change for next time is assisting students more with inspiration illustration, and kind of even better examples of what exactly I'm looking for. So saying, hey, you're using this website to create your own story based on this book. I think the abstract idea is what really tripped the student up. And reaching his full potential. He didn't do poorly, but there's no real plot or storyline to the story. So pros and cons, it does allow for visual inspiration. It's also a less formal style of writing. Knowledge is conveyed through storytelling as opposed to the face-to-face presentation. And it's a great way to partner up, for speaking and listening practice. I also was lucky enough to step into an 8th grade ELA classroom where 3 EL students were still present. The teacher was using WeVideo to model the project, and the learning outcome was students would create an infomercial to sell the necessity of punctuation. The benefits were that students were able to write a script and practice in groups. Each student was required to speak, and not presenting in front of a large group, but in front of a camera. The cons were EL students struggled with their volume, pronunciation, and cadence. Obviously, they were nervous, and it kind of created a stressful environment to perform in front of their peers. Improvements and modifications that I personally would make if I were to use this lesson, using WeVideo, I would create diverse learning groups, offer feedback on the written scripts before they get up and present, model presentations or offer former student examples, and allow for retakes and editing time. Quizlet is my last one. I found Quizlet and I was really excited. It's a super easy way to teach vocab or any matching. Super easy to use, free, creates 8 different ways to practice customizable vocabulary sets, but they also have free pre-made vocab sets as well. The kids are obsessed with playing. So that's really the best part about Quizlet is all the different games, and it's really nice that you can utilize it with all the different matching. Next year I'll be teaching social studies, and I'm planning on using it. Pros, it's got an option for audio. It also caters to different learning styles. It has the possibility for audio as well. The cons is that it's fast-moving games, so it's difficult to track, and the academic language is tricky, and also spelling counts. So overall, I learned many different things, and I can't wait to try them again next year.